So we have been talking about this global variable, local variable, and the static variables. So we had a lot of discussions in the last class about uh, the global variables, local variables, and the static variables. So the local variables, as I mentioned, they are restricted to the block or function where they are declared. And for the static variables, though the scope is restricted within the function, but they are capable of remembering the values from the previous function call. So there is for an ordinary local variable, uh, every time that particular block or function is accessed, initialization or declaration is done. For static variable, initialization or basically the creation of the variable, basically the memory allocation is done only once. Okay, for the so whenever the function is called for the first time, the variable is basically created. And for static variable, the default value is 0. So if you don't initialize it, like I have done here, sorry. So I showed you example in the last class, right? So so I did some declarations. Um, do I have such an example here? Yeah, here. So I have done, static, the initialization of the static variable. But if you don't do initialization, the default initial value will be 0. That is not the case for a global variable or a local variable. Okay, the non-static local variable. So we have discussed this. Let's talk about another kind of variable, that is called an extern variable. Okay, so here look at this particular program. There is a function. Um, okay, function 2 is only declared. Okay, so please ignore this. So there is function 1, and there is void main, um, and the value is main is printed here. That's value in main. So the value of the variable is printed here. This then function 1 is called. Then after this, after main, this global variable is basically declared. So if you want to do this, there will be an error. Okay, because for any variable, the variable becomes available only after it has been declared. So here it is accessed before it has been declared, right? So even though it is a global variable, it is not accessible to main because the declaration is done right here. Okay. Do I have an example program for this? Let me see. I think I wrote something of this sort. Extern. Yes. Yeah. If I want to do this, suppose this line is not there. Okay. So this function 1, where is function 2? Is there any function? What's happening? So there is no function 2. So please ignore this part. So this is not correct. Okay. So I'm trying to access this global variable here, and let me try to compile and see what happens. There will be an error that this particular variable is not defined. Okay, even though it is a global variable, it is it is accessible to all the functions, but it is alive or it is accessible after it has been declared. But suppose you want to fix that. So you want to access it from any place irrespective of where it has been declared. So so to do that, you can make a forward declaration like this. So see, now there is no error. So you write extern int var, which means that var is a global variable. It is declared somewhere and initialized somewhere. And then when the compiler sees this extern, the compiler will look for this particular global variable throughout the program. Whether, basically whether it has been declared before this or after this. So it will find this one, and then it will make variable this var accessible to main. And also to function one, it was always accessible. It was no, for function one, it was, basically never a problem. So this is the thing. So this is just a, small thing, minor thing, for applicable only for a global variable. Basically, you need to declare it as extern. Okay, I already talked about static variable in the last class. And there is one just for the sake of completion, one variable left, but I have never used it, and you may not use it, but just for the sake of completion, I am basically mentioning this. It's called a register kind of variable. So it is a local variable. So initially, when C was designed in ANSYS standard, what I mean is, when all these variable definitions were finalized, the creators thought about this particular type of variable that is called the register variable. So as I mentioned in the last class, there can be certain kind of storage locations that is very easily accessible, right? So there are basically two kinds of memories, as you may know. There is called primary memory and there is called secondary memory. In primary memory, we basically store the program which is running. All these variable declarations, all the memory allocations are done in the primary memory, and the secondary or basically external memory is a hard disk where you store data permanently. For example, if you save your file, it basically stays there until you don't basically delete them explicitly. So register is a particular kind of storage location which is very easy to access, and the access time is very low, so it can be accessed very fast. So this kind of variable is supposed to be used for cases where we want very fast access. Okay, so when you declare int var and mention that it is a register type, then the program will take less time to access its value. But in reality, as of now, that is not true, because I did this several times and I checked the time taken by the compiler. It doesn't work that way. No, variables are stored temporarily in memory. Register is a special kind of storage location which is faster, access to which is faster than a memory. That is the notion, but in general it doesn't happen that way. There is not much time difference in accessing a register type of a variable between the register variable or any other local variable. So this is, I don't think register variable is not that useful. You may not use it. So, but this is just for the sake of completion. I'm just mentioning. For the sake of completeness. So we talked about those four kinds of variables. Auto variable, that is basically the default variable. That is a local variable. Then there is a static kind of a local variable which is capable of retaining its values across function calls. There is an external variable So which enables a global variable known to all the functions irrespective of the particular place of its declaration, and there is a register variable. So we have talked about all the kinds of storage classes which are available. Basically most of them. And there is something else about extern variable. So extern variable is also available across files. So this I will discuss later on when I talk about functions and files. Okay, so this was about yeah, that was about variables. So let's move on to the operators which are in C language. So if you have done Python already, you may be aware of this, but still let me cover this. Okay, should I open? So okay, I will do that. So there are different kinds of arithmetic operations you can do. One is integer type. For an integer type of operation, all the operands, so basically two operands. So any any operator can in this case the operators are basically binary operators. So we can have two operands, right? So for a particular operator, both the operands are integers for integer arithmetic. So let's look at the division operation. So A equals to 10 and B equals to 3. A by B will be 3 and not 3.33. The fractional part will be truncated. So let's see. Okay, so this is an example. So int A equals to 3 and B equals to 10. Okay, let me do the other way around first. Okay, let's do this. So A by B, if you so when you divide 10 by 3, it will for any float type of float type of operation, you will get a different result. For in this case, we get 3. So it is 10 by 3 comes to 3.33, something like that, right? But here the fractional part will be truncated. So let's so this is the case here, and if I reverse the numerator, if I basically swap the numerator and denominator, it should have been 0.3, right? But let's see what's happening. It is 0 because the fractional part is truncated. So here both the operands A and B are integers. Keep this in mind. So these are examples of A by 3 minus, so minus 10 by minus 3 will be 3, minus 10 by 3 will be minus 3, like this. 3 by 10 will be 0, minus 3 by minus 10, or if any one of them is negative, then also it will be 0. Doesn't make any difference. There is another operation called basically modular division. What is modular division? Modular division is a remainder. So when you divide 10 by 3, the remainder is 1, right? You'll get 1 in this case. Okay, let me show this. It is 1. It is printing 1. Simple enough, right? Okay. So minus 10 by minus 3 will be minus 1. So the sign of the denominator is not taken into account. Only the sign of the numerator is taken into account. Okay. So this is about the modular division for integer arithmetic. yes, sign of the first operand is always considered for as a sign of the basically the output of the modular division. Hope that is clear. Now let's go to real or basically floating point arithmetic. So here fractional part will be retained. Well, let's see. Let's change this float. It doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. If you do this, so we'll get 3.33. And if you reverse this, you will not get 0, right? You will get 0.3. So that's the difference between integer arithmetic and basically real arithmetic. So this is self-explanatory. You can look into this and understand. Modular division is only for integer type arithmetic. It is not allowed for real arithmetic. So let's try that. There will be a compiler error. Okay. This is simple enough to be understood. Okay. Then we come to mixed mode arithmetic. So the requirement is at least one of the two operands is real. Oh, okay. Considering that there are only two operands, one is real and the other is integer. So here, interesting part is if any one of them is a real number, that is a fractional number, automatically the result of that particular operation becomes meaningful. That is, the fractional part will be retained. So you see that here A is real and B is an integer, but for A by B, for A by B, automatically the type of B is converted to from an integer type to a real type. So let's see this. So 3 by 10, right? Okay. It works, right? Although B is an integer, we're getting the same value. Okay, what happens if I print %d here? Many of you may be doing this. It is giving it is basically giving a garbage value. So it doesn't make any sense to the compiler. You are trying to print. So it is not the case that it will print the integer part of the variable. So it is not to the compiler. It is not really a basically a meaningful thing to print C by %d. So if you need to print it by %f. Okay. So this part is clear, I hope. And modular division is I told that it is allowed only when both the operands are integers. So here one operand is real, right? So this is not allowed. And type conversion, for type conversion, there is a rule that the lower type is automatically converted to higher type. So what do I mean by higher type? So float has more precision, right? So an integer is capable of storing only basically the integer part without the fractional part, and float or basically real type has more precision. So that is of a higher type. Higher in terms of precision. So integer will be automatically converted to a float in mixed mode arithmetic. Keep this in mind. So why this is very important? Because this will ensure that a particular operation is basically meaningful. When you want to do a particular kind of a division and you want to ensure that you don't lose the fractional part, then what you need to do, you need to ensure that one of the operands is float, and you can basically be confident that the result will be meaningful. So unnecessarily the fractional part won't be eliminated. Okay, this were so hope this is very simple and basically clear to you. So I'm not asking you whether it is clear or not. This is very simple. Now we come to the relational operators. Okay, we come to the relational operators. What are the relational operators? The relational operators are this kind of operators: less than equals to, greater than equals to, and equals to. So as I mentioned in the first class, that there is a difference between single equal to and double equal to. Single equal to means assignment. A equals to 5 means you are assigning the value 5 to the variable A, and double equal to means is something equal to something. So for example, if A is equal to 10, so for that you have to write A equals 10. Okay. So to define the relational expressions, the formal definition is like this. So there will be an operator. What kind of operator? This kind of an operator. So less than, greater than, all these kinds of operators. And there will be an arithmetic expression on the left, and there will be an arithmetic expression on the right. Okay. So arithmetic expression, it can be constants, it can be variables or combinations. And if the arithmetic expression, if this or this is an arithmetic expression, so something which needs to be calculated, whose value needs to be calculated, first it will be evaluated and then the relational operator will be applied. So the arithmetic operators have higher precedence than relational operators. So in this case, in this particular expression, the question is whether A plus B into 2, so this is into multiplication, basically equal to A minus B. So in this case, this value will be calculated and this value will be calculated, and then this operator will be used. Okay, and a relational expression can have two values, 1 or 0. 1 stands for true and 0 stands for false. So whenever you are writing a relational expression, you are asking a question, true or false, right? So A less than equal to 10, which means is A less than or equal to 10? Yes or no? So the answer will be 1 or 0. Similarly, is 351 basically greater than or equal to 34? The answer in this case will be false, right? Sorry, true. It is so there is a typo here. 351 is greater than or equal to 34. Yes, that is true. So the value of this expression will be 1. And these are basically functions of A or B. So that all basically depends upon what the values of A and B are. So these are the relational operators, and there are some other operators like logical operators. So this is logical and, this is logical or, and this is logical. There is a typo here, logical or, sorry, not. So two or more relational expressions can be combined by logical operators. So a greater than 5 and b less b less than 45. So this is basically a relational expression. This is another basically relational expression, and there will be a logical expression combining them. So this is and this is or. X equal is x equal to 1 or is y equal to 5? We can combine these two. So this or this, again the value of a logical expression is either true or false. So I will give you some examples, don't worry. So yes, is there anyone who doesn't know? No. Okay, great, that is good. So then you must be knowing what a truth table is. So there is operand 1, there is operand 2, and this is a truth table for and this is a truth table for or. So as opposed to digital logic truth table, so there the value of this operand will be 1. So it can be either 1 or 0. So in this case it can be non-zero also. So anything non-zero is considered to be 1. So non-zero, if this is non-zero and this is non-zero, then it is 1. And for and the value is 1, for or the value is 1. Non-zero 0, for and it is 0, for or it is 1. Similarly, these are also like that. So for 0 0, both are zeros. So let's take an example here. So let's consider this. Integer a equals to 5, b equals to 3, c equals to 8, x equals to 3, y equals to 1, and float w equals to 0, t equals to 1. So operand 1 is a greater than 2. Is that true? Yes. B equals to 3. Is that true? Yes. So true, we are getting and value of and as 1 and or as 1. Then a, only a. Keep this in mind. A has a value 5, right? So is this true? Yes. And b is 3. So anything non-zero is true. So this is also true. So 1 and 1. W, it is 0. So it is false. T, it is non-zero, 1.0, right? So it is true. So for and it is 0 and for or it is 1. X less than x, is that true? Sorry, c less than x, c is 8 and x is 3. C is not less than x, right? So that is false. Y less than 0, that is also false. So I hope it is clear. So let's look at some example. Very simple example I will consider. So int a equals to 5, b equals to 6, and float x equals to say 7.0. Okay, I have not discussed if, but I'm sure you will be able to understand this. So this is a equals to 5. There is a question. If this is true, print okay. If this is not true, you can write an else part. False. Okay, let's try to compile this. What is this true, right? Why this is true? Because A is equal to 5. So you are asking a question, is A equal to 5? And the answer is yes. So the value is this expression is 1. Let's change this to only A. So the value is 5, right? So that is non-zero, which means it is true. It is true again. Okay. Let's put this. Is A is less than or equal to B? What will be the answer to this? Yes. Anyone? No, sorry. A is less than, A is basically less than B. So it will be true. Correct. Suppose I do this. A into B. What will be this? A into B, is A into B greater than 100? What will be the answer? What will be? It is false. Correct. Very simple. But when I teach if in more details, I will talk about the different ways you can write if else. So this is just for giving a demo of how the basically the relational operators and logical operators work. So I have not formally introduced the notion of using if. It is very simple, you can understand, but there can be several ways in, I mean, if you can write this if, I mean, condition. So I mean, there can be many different kind of conditions you may want to write. So you may want to write if A greater than B and C greater than D, something like that. It can be done in several ways. Okay, let's talk about this one then. X greater than 100. Yeah, does this work? Okay, let me see. I think it will work. Yeah, there will be I mean implicit type conversion here. It is false, right? X is not I mean greater than 100. Let's do something else. So if A greater than 2 and B greater than 5, then do this. Okay. So this is the way it is. This will be more lenient. This is OR. It's true again. I can also do this. If A is greater than 2 and B greater than 5, or B less than 100. This you can do also. Okay. So suppose you want to specify a range for a variable A. So if you want to do something, so this is basically doing something if this condition is true, and this is doing something if this condition is false. So here I am only printing true. You can do something else. You can do some calculations of your choice. So suppose you want to check whether A lies in the interval of say 1 to 50. Then you can do if A is greater than or equal to 1 and A is less than equal to 50. So this is the way to do it. Okay. So I hope it is clear, right? So it is, I mean, there is nothing to set the Ganges on fire. But one thing which you must bear in mind, that in C, unlike in Java or Python, you have to explicitly use. So in Java or Python, I think you have to use a logical expression like this, the value of which should be true or false. You cannot do this. C allows this. So if the value of variable is non-zero, it is considered to be true. It is 0, then it is considered to be false. Okay. So that is allowed in C. It is not allowed. I think it is not allowed in Python. So don't try this at home using Python. So basically after C++, I think a different data type is created that is called the Boolean type. That is not in C. I think in Java there is a Boolean type, and the relational expressions or the logical expressions need to be of that type. So here this particular expression can be of integer type, can be a float type, right? It is implicitly converted to true and false. But in Java or in Python, it has to be a Boolean type. So there it cannot be of integer or float type. That is a very important distinction that you need to keep in mind. Okay. All right. There is a shorthand operator. I think it is also in Python. So when you write a plus equals to 1, you mean a equal to a plus 1. Similarly, a minus equal to 1, you mean a equal to a minus 1, like this. A star equal to means a equal to a star 1. A divide equals to 1 means a equals to a by 1, like this. And when you do an assignment, when you use an assignment operator, there is implicit type conversion. The type of value on the RHS is converted to that of the variable in the LHS. So integer a equals to 10.5. If you write this, then RHS will be truncated to 10. Similarly, when you write float b equals to 10, so I mean this we did in the previous program, right? So it is automatically converted to the default precision. So it will be converted to 10 point. I think the default precision in ANSYS C is 5 places of decimal, or 6, something like that. So let's try this one. Let's see what happens. If we try this one, say I write 0.5, okay, and let me try to print T B. Yeah, it did compile, but it's the value of age 10. It is automatically truncated to 10. Okay. So these are just the basics. Just I mean, getting the basics right. Okay. So there are increment and decrement type operators. So plus plus a in isolation means a equals to a plus 1. A plus plus means a equals to a plus 1. But plus plus a is pre-increment and a plus plus is post-increment. What does that mean? So if you write a equals to 5 and b equals to plus plus a, it is equivalent to a equals to 5 is all right. First you do this operation. So first you increment, so first you do a equals to a plus 1, and then the incremented value of a will be assigned to b. Okay. Okay, let me give an example. I think that will be better. Let's write a different program. Okay. Okay. So int a equals to say 5 and b is nothing. So you do b equals to a plus plus. Okay, or plus plus a. Okay, let's do plus plus a. Let's print this. So you see a is 6 and b is 6. Why? Because here I initialized a with 5, and when I do this, of course the right hand side will be basically evaluated, and then it will be assigned to b. So plus plus a means a is incremented first, then it is assigned to b. So plus plus a means before this assignment, this a is incremented. So a is becomes 6 and that 6 is assigned to b. So this is equivalent to doing this. Sorry. Same thing. It is equivalent to this. On the other hand, what if I do b equals to a plus plus? So keep this in mind. I am doing b equals to plus plus a. I was doing b equals to plus plus a. Now I am doing b equals to a plus plus. Let's see what happens. Now a equals to 6, but b equals to 5. Why? Because here it is post increment. A plus plus means assignment is done here. So b gets the value 5. Then a is incremented. So it is equivalent to writing okay, this is very important. I think it is also in Python and everywhere else, but this is a very basic and yet very important concept to bear in mind. Okay, there are some expressions here. So you just keep this in mind. I hope this is clear, right? This is simple enough. So in isolation, if you are not using in a particular operation, a plus plus and plus plus a won't make any difference. A plus plus and plus plus a both would mean incrementing a by 1. But if you use it any assignment operation, then it will make a difference. Okay. So this was about the increment operator.